You, Obama, have yet again, through your actions, killed yet another American citizen.
Reports right now that ISIL has beheaded the second American journalist, Steven Sotloff.
I was at the White House briefing when one of my colleagues announced to the press secretary, Josh Earnest, that the gentleman had in fact been killed, and Josh didn't know it.
So just as your missiles continue to strike our people, our knife will continue to strike the necks of your people.
They are very, very sophisticated in getting out their message, that evil message. And we were appalled as a group of journalists. The White House was appalled, needless to say, that this gentleman, this, excuse me, evil man, seems to be a Brit. Some say he's a DJ, they even know his name, but it may be very hard to find him. The U.S. has gone in before trying to release some of the captives that they've had there, journalists, and they weren't successful. And I am sure, on some level, that our security team and the UK security team and others are really trying to sort out and trying to capture this guy. I can't imagine they are not. The United States and Great Britain are basically seen as the same enemy by these jihadists, by these radical jihadists. And I think, you know, for them, it's the same message, and it's the same goal, is to frighten and terrify people in the West, and they're doing it. And don't forget, we're coming up to a major anniversary, and that is the 13th anniversary. It's hard to call it an anniversary. The commemoration of 9/11. There are possibly jihadists here in the United States waiting for a call, waiting for a universal call. It could be anything, where they will then proceed to do the kinds of things that they have done before. You remember the shoe bomber. Remember the individual who shot and killed people at Fort Hood, who now wants to become a jihadist, who wants to become part of ISIL. It's a very complicated and very complex situation. Do I think it's inevitable that there may be some form of a terrorist attack in Great Britain or in the U.S., coordinated universally, let's say by ISIL, by the leadership, by Mr. Baghdadi, to signal individuals who are standing by in those two countries to perform some sort of evil attack? Sure. Okay, these are barbarians. Okay, I hate to use those words. They sound ancient, and they sound maybe a little bit racist. I don't mean it to be that way. But these individuals are murderers, and if you don't adhere to their exact way, their exact method, their exact religious belief, you know, I mean, they'll use anything as a ploy, as a PR tool, as a handle to get people in to join them. So but they want the destruction. They're really into the destruction of the societies that we know. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to be a war between them and the rest of the world. If you know the enemy, you set out to get him. Hitler, whomever, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden. And the Americans were very happy to say Al-Qaeda has been basically emasculated, destroyed, taken down. But as they were going down, they were spreading their anger towards the leadership that they have in those countries, and towards the West and America and Great Britain and France, and those who they think have kept them down and who don't believe their particular form of Islam. There are 28,000 websites, if you will, accounts on the social media that represent ISIL. So it's hard to find them. It's easier to cut the head off a snake, but if it's a 700-headed snake, it's going to be a lot more difficult to go around cutting each one of those heads, and especially if they're in your own country and they live down the street.